This is my forever world. I started way back in 2022. A lot has happened since then. I built a statue for a creeper farm. I built these houses for my villagers. I built an electrical power plant to power the whole city. And it also acts as a copper oxidation chamber. This giant water treatment center, it houses my water related farms. And my latest creation right here, a train station. It helps me travel between cities and start new projects. I create all of my builds with intention, a use case. And I've added so many cool things in 2025, and I want to continue this streak of being creative and sharing with you guys my knowledge on how to build. So I want to start the New Year's right by building a temple to help with my fortune, and in today's video, we'll be doing just that. Happy New Year's! Hello, first of all, Happy New Year. I hope you guys spend your holidays with your family, spend some time with your loved ones. Before we start the video, I want to encourage you guys to reconnect with your friends and, talk to your family. It's a new year. We want to start things off fresh, be in good terms with the people you love and try to do something out of your comfort zone that's positive. So make sure you tell the people you love them and maybe give them a hug. So as you can see on the left side right here, this is what we built out on the last episode. We made this giant train station is going to be the main way for us to travel between cities, and this is what we have right here, our Japanese city. We still have so much to work on here, but we're going to be building some other stuff later on down the line in other cities. This is our Japanese city right here that I've been building out for the past few years. It's nowhere close to being completed, but if I do want to try something new every once in a while, I can just like ride the train and build something outside of the city limit, and that's something that actually we're going to be doing today in this episode. But before we do anything outside of the city, we need to add a few more things to what we have right here. So you have these lampposts around the city, and I think if we add more around this area right here, it would bring a lot more life to it. So I'll start doing that before we do anything else. 2025 is the first year that I started YouTube, and a lot has happened since then. And I moved back to my hometown currently. I graduated, and then I learned a lot about like making videos and how to edit and stuff like that. So I've been really grateful for the support that I've been getting on my videos. It really means a lot to me. Like being able to make these videos every week is something that I don't take for granted. I realize now, especially that I have an audience, that I have to continuously think about the impact that I'm making in the community. And I just want to make sure that whatever I do, I leave a positive impact. And seeing you guys get inspired by what I do, give you guys new ideas and perspective on how to build, it's been really rewarding, honestly. And I want to do that every video. I try to put these lampposts every 3 pillars, so 1 2 3 and then lamppost, and I think that spaces out the lamppost evenly around the area without cluttering the space too much. So let's see what we've made so far. Check it out from the other side of the town. Okay, yeah, I like what we have so far, but right here I think I want to put a bigger gap in between them. That way we have like this grand walkway, and maybe start the pillar again right here. Okay, everything looks much better now. I think it's more alive. Now it's basically ready for us to build some more buildings here when we get to it in the future. But for now, let's focus on today's project. So I did some scouting around my town a bit to see where would be a good spot for this project, since today we want to build something that's more one with nature, where what we have right here is more bustling city and it's busy and it's full of life. What I'm trying to make today is more quiet. I want to build a spot right outside of the city where people can just pray or relax and get away from the hustle and bustle of the town, right? So as I head around this curve right here, I believe we have like a tiny island. Yep, Yep, right there. This is a perfect spot for a shrine. I can already imagine putting it right up there and then having trees surrounding it. Let's try and land right here. Oh, look at that. You can see there just like a slope going upwards. This is what really drew me into this tiny island right here, where you can already imagine having like a slope going from here all the way to the top where the shrine is going to be right there. And what I've been trying to do more lately is to work with the natural terraforming that I have and just enhance it, you know, make it look better. There's nothing wrong with Minecraft vanilla terrain, right? But I just want to add that extra spice right there, you know, to help draw your eyes more into the landscape and the area that I'm trying to create here. So that's a really difficult challenge sometimes, trying to work with what we have here. And it's like I'm limiting myself and putting myself in a box. But I think it helps me think about things more creatively instead of like just like demolishing the whole island and then placing something new. This helps me to, you know, flex my muscles a bit and just like try to figure out how to make this island work, right? And I think if you put yourself in that mindset, you get more realistic results, because that's how it normally is in real life. You know, you don't always get the perfect island, the perfect spot, but you just try to make it work. And as I was like looking at this island, I saw this like indentation right here. This could be a perfect spot for a waterfall, just a tiny waterfall cascading all the way down here, and it just adds a little more flair. Yeah, I think this is a perfect spot for what we're trying to do here. So the only thing that we got to do right now is to gather all of the materials, and then we can start building. Let's get to it. This build requires a lot of copper, and I mean a lot. More than anyone would ever need in their Minecraft world. So I headed down into my mine, and it didn't take long for me to find them. As someone who avoids copper ores like it's a landmine whenever I go into caves, it made it very easy for me to find them now. I just had to revisit a lot of these old caves that I've visited a million times before. And before I head out, I gathered a few more resources for the massive build ahead. And just like that, we got everything. Well, it's easier said than done actually. It took me a good 5 to 6 hours. Alright, so I've managed to gather a few resources that can help us with this terraforming. And the first thing that we need to do before we build anything on top of it is to make sure that the groundworks is ready. So we're gonna cut down some trees, put down some rocks, and try to make the elevation look better, and you know, make it seamlessly transition between the top area and the bottom. And basically this is the first step to actually terraforming a whole island like this, is to clear out the stuff that you don't want and add some like rock faces and cliff edges that you wanna, you know, help accentuate the beauty of the space basically, right? But as we head there right now, a lot of my inspiration lately has been from Ghost of Tsushima, where I've been replaying the game just so that I could have a better idea of how landscaping is, because that game has a really beautiful landscape, and it has helped me think about how to terraform and city layouts, believe it or not, even though it's not the focus of the game. But it does help me better understand what to do in situations like this, and where it would make sense to have an island and how to transition that island to a city. And you know, these things you don't generally think about when you're not building a city, but because I have that mindset of like trying to recreate these things and make them seamless in my world, these tiny details in a game that would normally go unnoticed is something that I continuously think about. But yeah, with this project right here, I'm trying to do something different. I don't want to use the same colored trees like the green trees. I've done colored trees before, but this time I try to make it as natural as possible and try to make something new that's like never really been done or explored as much in Minecraft. And yeah, I think this is going to be super interesting for you guys to see the process of how I plan these things. So let's just get started with the terraforming part. I'm on my Appa right now, heading to the location here. This is probably the view that we're going to be seeing the island from, since the base is right behind us. So if we head towards this way, which is where our boat is going to come, basically, this is where we're going to be seeing it most of the time, right? And I really like how it's going so far. This took a long while to plan out everything and then bone meal everything one by one. Luckily, we do have a bone meal farm, so that wasn't too big of a problem. It's just time consuming. But as you can see right here, we've detailed out the cliff area on the top, and then it slopes downwards, and then there's like a pathway going from that side all the way to the top. We're gonna take a closer look once everything is done, but I just want to show you guys the concept that I'm trying to go for here, where these wheat fields, I'm not sure if it's actually wheat. I'm trying to replicate wheat with like white top with those yellow, where it's like a yellow plant, white or like kind of beige top. And as you can see on the ocean, there's a bit of the leaf kind of like floating away, drifting, since I do want to replicate it looking very realistic, right? I think this adds a lot of detail to the area, having these plants kind of drift away from the island here. And as we head closer here to the middle section, this is where we're gonna be docking our boat, and then that's the entrance to the top. So the only thing that we have to do left is to plant some trees, and then we can build a temple in the middle and add some gates to mark the shrine. So yeah, let's just do that real quick. And there we have it, guys. This is the final product. This was a massive undertaking for a lot of reasons. First things first, I just got back from my holiday like 2 to 3 days ago. So I'm just trying to get back into the groove and make videos again, getting all the materials and stuff like that. Designing all of this took quite a while as well. So, you know, there's like a lot of like behind the scenes that, you know, that happened between last episodes and today's episode. But also, I did not realize how hard it is to build something from an existing landscape, right? First, you got to tear it down, at least the first layer of it, right? Because if you do want to use the landscape, you're not going to be putting blocks on top of it. Rather, you break something that's already there before, and then you replace it with these wheat fields that I have right here. And yeah, we can start going into the details here. But yeah, I do have a boat. Now, let's just try to simulate what it'd be like going there. So we'll go from here, and you dock your boat right here. But yeah, when we land here, we are greeted by this amazing landscape here that we have. And for the field here, like I said before, I'm trying to recreate like a reeds field, where it's like this yellow plant at the bottom and then the flowers of it. And I'm just trying to recreate that with these candles that we have right here, but I try not to use them too much because it can be a bit too much of a noise. So just to talk about the reed fields, I do use weeds, I use tall dried grass, and then I use some firefly bush to mix them up a bit. But I mainly use the firefly bush right around the main pathways, just to kind of indicate the pathways a bit better. And then I would eventually sprinkle in the fireflies here and there. And then here on the ground, we do have some rooted muds, and then I sprinkle in a few golds because it gives the effect that it is the leaf droplets from these plants right here. Just adds a bit more detail. And then I do have these wildflowers to simulate the same thing. And we also do have these water plants. I think they're actually called reeds. I'm not sure, I don't know. But we do have a lot of variety of plants here. I just try to vary it up a bit and add different colors, but not to a degree where it's like overwhelming, right? And as we head up through this pathway, you can see the first gate here marking the entrance to the shrine. It has a pretty simple block palette. It has a mossy cobblestone and some variety of tufts. And then I tried to replicate these paper markings that Japanese gates usually have. They're usually like a thunder shape, but you know, I try to replicate these like papers using these gates, and at a distance it looks really good. Like it simulates that paper look very well, I think. Same goes for this one up here. We just have the same gate basically. And right here is the main shrine. We do have a few lampposts just to guide the path a bit. So I wanted to introduce a different color, which is red. Even though it's similar to the trees, I thought it'd be a good pop of color here, where it's not too out of place where it takes away from the trees, but it blends in a bit better. So for the main shrine, I use a lot of spruce. I mix it in with some jungle fences, trapdoors, and we do have the black roof as usual, mixed in with some mossy cobblestones. We have some tiny little details like the lanterns going all around. We do have this like yellow banner thing going across just to simulate that shrine look as best as I can with this tiny details on Minecraft, and I think I did pretty well. And lastly, I know you guys are waiting for me to talk about the trees. For the trees right here, I want to give credit to the people in Neodymium actually. They've been experimenting with these type of trees using these grates. I don't think anyone else has done this before outside of Neodymium. From what I know, Joey was the one who found out about this technique. I'm not sure who else, but grates give out this like airy look, right? It looks so similar to like normal leaves, where it feels like it's just a leaf, you know, if you put it up like this. And always surprises me how people always come up with these new ideas and techniques. This is hands down one of my favorite techniques that the community has made. This is really creative. The problem with custom trees, they normally don't look like trees, right? But these grates, it really sells the illusion that those are trees, you know, especially from a distance right here. And yeah, I want to give props to the people in Neodymium and Joey. So just to talk about the color palettes for the trees, I do use copper grades and weathered copper grades, orange glass, red glass, and I mix in a few fence gates just to simulate that messy bushiness that trees normally have. And then for the wood itself, I try to mix in a few spruce, some jungle, the occasional soul sand for highlight, and yeah, that makes up for these amazing trees. And then I did make a yellow variant, which doesn't work as well as the orange ones, but these yellow variants help break the pattern that they're all just like the same trees. So I do use them very sparingly, and I try to always mix up these grates here because I don't want it to be too different from these orange trees. So we do have some weathered copper grades, some raw gold blocks, some orange glass, some yellow glass, and I mix in a few bamboo gates. Those give the same feeling as these other gates right there. For the trees at the back right there, I did add a few leaves like flying away with some candles just to give that illusion that it's like moving. And I do have a few more here. Right here we have them going downward, and I place the occasional candles on the floor just to sell that illusion even further. These tiny details sells the illusion that these are an alive world. You know, Minecraft can be a bit too still and stale sometimes. There's not a lot of movements, and these candles and these like litters just kind of give the illusion that, you know, there's a lot happening here. There's a history, there's a story to be told, and I really love what I've done here. Probably one of my best work, if I'm being honest. And as the sun is setting right here, I do want to give you guys the nighttime view a bit. I've actually never seen it in nighttime yet, so this is pretty exciting. So let's wait for nighttime here and just enjoy the view. These guys are really ruining my illusion here. At least they're protecting me, I guess. But yeah, this is really super cool. I just wish I distributed the light better on the right and left side. But yeah, this is amazing. So let me just despawn them real quick. So let me just grab the bed and sleep somewhere further. Oh my god. Well, you've seen it here first, guys. This... But yeah, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. We do have some leaf litters that I put around the island. And we do have this small patch of island right here, which could be a great spot for just an extension of this island right here. So we have the same color scheme with the yellow weeds going all around. But the only difference would be that this is just going to be housing like a tiny shelter for foxes. So the idea is that I want to put some foxes here. So I did set up some fences here. That way I could get some foxes here and then just attach them to a lead. That way they just like walk around this whole area. And then I set up another one right here. That way it's like a shrine that's like being protected by the fox, like a fox shrine or something. Again, heavily inspired by Ghost of Tsushima. So having like their house set up right on that tiny island right here, just like up on that hill here, that would be super cool and amazing, like world building and lore. But yeah, having this like fox den right here would add a little more function to this whole section right here. We could go up here whenever we do want to breed some foxes and for whatever use case I'd need them for. And one last feature that I do want to highlight is this one right here. So let me just stop right here. We have a small waterfall. I know it doesn't really make sense to have a waterfall here, just like going out of the cliffside, but I just decided because of the shape that we have here naturally, let me just land here, because of the shape right here, I was super tempted to create a waterfall, and I've managed to create a custom waterfall. I don't know how well I'm selling the illusion right here, but I did ask my girlfriend about it. You know, she doesn't really play Minecraft, and she said it looks like a waterfall, so I'll take that as a win. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this area right here. The only thing that we need to do left is to grab some foxes, some villagers, and we can call it a wrap on this project. So let's grab them right now. Oh, it has to rain, huh? It always has to rain. Okay, thanks to the help of our opera here, moving these villagers was very easy compared to how it was before. Nowadays, you can just grab a boat, put them on a lead, and then attach them to Appa, and then done deal. It's really easy. But here we have two ground workers right here. They are basically the one that's maintaining the shrine area. And I did build their house instead of the shrine right here, just so that they could sleep, you know, and try to simulate them moving around and not keeping them in one place. And like I mentioned before, we do have these two foxes, one right here. The fox is just chilling right now, and one more right about here. Now I would love to name them, so if you guys do have a name for the ground workers and for the foxes right here, I really appreciate that. Lately you guys have been coming up with really great suggestions, so I'd love to hear more suggestion on these names right here. And we do have one more villager, which is prized possession of this whole island. I try to make it look like a fortune teller booth thingy where you can go here and then talk to this villager, and they have a fortune 3 bow. This took a really long time. Don't ask me how long it took, but this was a pain to keep on breaking the lectern, but in the end we got it. So this is a cool spot just to grab a fortune book. And last but not least, I did grab one more villager. They're still chilling down here on a boat, so we do want to put him on a boat, not this boat, a custom boat right about here. I think would be a great spot. So I do have the materials right here, so let's just place them down real quick. So it's gonna be a pretty simple boat, just like a boat where you can move people. Basically the idea here is that this villager is the one that takes people in and out of the island, and it's their hustle basically. First thing first, we want to move the villager. There we go. Thank God that was painless. Oh my God, that works. Okay, that was a big pain. And then we can finish up with decorating this thing. We can put some signs here, and we can put a fence there and a lantern, and that should be it. Perfect. Now let's just take a look at it from the side so you guys can see what I'm trying to do here. Look at that. That's amazing. It's pretty simple, but it does add a bit more to the life, to the surrounding area. Now we just gotta attach this here, and that tiny detail right there kind of helps sell the illusion that, you know, that it's a part of the whole landscape, which is the idea that we're trying to sell here. And I think if we add some trapdoors down here, you can make it look a bit more submerged, because it was a bit floating just now. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Oh, and I forgot to show you guys one more thing, actually. I did make a spot right here at the back. This trail right here leading up all the way to the section right here. I made like a meditation spot, basically, where the monks or whoever can just like sit right here and look at the view and just chill and relax. This is a really cool spot. So whenever you're like walking by, you know, these tiny details really add to the whole environment. And it just gives that illusion that the world is lived in, you know? I really like adding these small details. But yeah, we have one last segment before we end the video. Dialogue, which is a segment where I answer your questions from my last videos. We have two questions here. One of them is from Wavy Lettuce. They ask, is Project Neodymium over? So Project Neodymium is an SMP that I joined pretty sure like 4 to 5 months ago, and I did build quite a few builds there. I have like 8 episodes, I believe, in the SMP, but recently I don't know why I'm having lots of difficulties connecting to the server, but the server itself is alive and well, and the season is still going, and I'm hoping I could rejoin them very soon. But you know, with everything that's going on right now, with me moving and coming back from the holidays and everything, it's just a bit difficult for me to find time to play there. But hopefully soon, I'm hoping by around March or so, I could come back to the server and play again. And the second question is from Lazy Astral. How do you organize your city? Know where to put your old builds and new ones, farms and houses? My world is such a mess. I can't figure stuff out. That's a really good question, Astral. I also have difficulties with that. I'm gonna run out of rockets here going back. I don't really have a philosophy on how to do that, right? This right here is probably what I would consider an old build, this shulker farm, and these two builds right here are what I would consider new buildings, and I haven't really connected them really, right? I look at a lot of videos about city plannings and stuff like that, but I think it's difficult to like really understand how to lay out a city. And the problem is that I often get these questions and I don't really know how to answer them because it's a case by case, right? Some of you guys are making a city like mine that's like hustling and bustling, where the houses are like next to each other, and some of you guys might be building a more quiet town where there's more spaces in between them, and laying things out might be different from what I'm doing here. But my best advice for you guys is to look at references online, look at city buildings in games and movies and art concepts. They would normally have a lot of references for you guys to follow, and once you put yourself in a mindset where you're trying to figure out how people lay out a city, you can kind of just like see them whenever you're looking at a media. Like, let's say I'm playing this game recently, Clair Obscura. I'm just thinking about how they lay out the city and why it's laid out the way it is, and you ask yourself these questions and you would notice these details. So it kind of depends on how hardcore you want to go into adding these details, right? And for me, I really want to make them realistic, and at the end of the day, it's kind of up to you really how you want to lay out the city and how realistic you want to make it. And for me, I try to make it as realistic as possible, and that comes with a lot of restriction, a lot of research, and it can be really challenging, and it's not for everyone. But you know, if you want to replicate what I'm doing here, I recommend you to look up more references, learn more about city planning, and eventually you'll pick up these techniques to lay out these cities better. This is not the only way of building in Minecraft. This is just how I approach it. A lot of people have different approaches, but as long as you enjoy what you're doing, I don't think that you should lay it out a certain way. But yeah, my best advice for you, if you're trying to do what I do, is just to do lots of research, because that's what I'm doing all the time, trying to figure out how to plan out the city. I ended up learning so much about the history of Japan, just city planning in general. So yeah. Well, that's the first video of the year in the books. We transformed a whole island, built some custom trees. We also made some friends along the way. We housed a few foxes, and most important of all, we added more meaning and purpose into my world. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you stick around for more. And once again, Happy New Year's to all of you. And wherever you are, and whatever your struggles are, know that you're not alone. I'll see you in the next one.